practice been so far after a tough road trip?
It's been pretty good. We had a good energy today, good pace. Obviously we watched some film, a lot of things for us to work on, but thankfully it's stuff that, we can improve on. It's not stuff that, our effort's necessarily bad. It's just missed shots, a couple miscommunications here and there, so it's things we can clean up. We talked about it, still got a long way to go the rest of the way. So, we're still in it, so good practice though today.
Helps to have multiple games at home, to get into your own routine instead of have to deal with the road. Does that help in a situation like this?
Definitely. I mean, anytime you can get some games at home, especially in conference, it's big. You got to protect home court. But just to get a rhythm and, really kind of help set yourself ahead. We're right about 500 in conference right now. If we can get these 4 games, that really helps us, puts us, towards the top of the group. So, you got to take care of business at home.
Yeah, your coach wasn't happy, of course, Wednesday, the first game of the road trip especially. When he says you guys get away from playing your style, is that something you feel on the court, or does he got to kind of keep emphasizing it to you, or how does that work with you guys?
It's something you can feel at times. Sometimes you're so into the game that you don't always necessarily feel it, but there's definitely kind of a flow to the game that, is there sometimes, and we're doing really well when we have it, and other times it's not. So it's kind of stuff that we have to be able to fix on the court, and we don't let it compile. 1 or 2 mistakes, we can't let that turn into 3-4 minutes of bad basketball. So.
Had you ever envisioned yourself running the point for this team?
Coach and I had talked about it previously. It hadn't really been brought up super seriously until about midway through the season. I'm still learning a lot. I'm trying to talk to, guys like RT, who's been here and he played with John Elmore and Tay, guys that know how to run the show. Trying to talk with Corny. He's obviously was a great point guard here, so I'm trying to learn from a lot of different guys, trying to get a bunch of different pieces from their games. So I'm still learning how to play the position.
Does that include leadership, trying to be the guy that maybe direct the traffic, not just the game flow, but things that aren't going well, you have to become a little bit more vocal?
Definitely, and Coach and I talk about that. It's a little outside of my personality. I'm normally a pretty quiet guy, so I have to, step out of my comfort zone, especially if I want the team to win. And I'm willing to do whatever. So, making that couple steps outside is really not much. But as a younger guy and a quieter guy, that's definitely outside my comfort zone a little bit.
Have you had to do that yet? Yeah.
Yeah, there's times, teams go on a run, we have a bad practice, whatever happens, you got to bring everybody together, talk to them, make sure we're all on the same page, make sure that we know, especially on the road, you got 3, 4, 5,000, it's 5,000 against us. So you got to make sure everybody's on the same page, but it's come up a couple times.
You seem to enjoy kind of, dishing out the basketball. How do you also keep your mind and your mindset to score, too? I notice you kind of making sure everybody's in the right spots, but you also have an offensive game that you have to be aware of, right?
Yeah, and I've been working on it, trying to balance that. Dan talks to me a lot. Some of the best passers in the game are guys that can score too. You think guys like LeBron and Luka, guys that are bigger that can play and score, but at the same time they get everybody involved and they make the right play. So I've been trying to watch film of those guys, see how they use the pick and roll, see how they get to their spots and force the defense to play the shot or the pass. So like I said, lots of learning still.
When you combine that film study and looking at what you've already done, combined with the knowledge of guys like Corny and Ryan, how much does that shrink that learning curve for you?
It helps. There's a ton of playing basketball and running the point guard position and college basketball as a whole. But when you have a bunch of guys that have played through it, been through it, and I have the resources to be able to watch those guys, it makes it so much easier. Instead of taking 2-3 months, it could take a couple weeks. It really just, like you said, lessens the shrinking curve. So they make it really easy for me.
What was that initial discussion like? You moving to the point?
It really was just Coach talking to me about how the offense needs a guy to get our scorers in the position. We had guys like Cam. He was bringing the ball up all the time, so he was picking the ball up full court, bringing the ball up against full court pressure. Kevon was bringing the ball up against full court pressure, guarding full court, so their legs were gone. And it's easier for them if I can get the ball, push it, and get them the ball in spots where they are ready to score right then, right now, rather than them having to work 2 times as hard to get to that spot in the first place. So it really was more about getting those guys the ball, getting the ball to Obina in space, in the post, getting the ball to Nate where he can make decisions and play make. So it really was about making sure I helped get other guys in the position to where they can succeed.
It was about you accepting that kind of a challenge, right? Because I'm presuming you didn't play a lot of point guard.
I played like 1 year in high school. It was more of kind of just bring the ball up and start us into the offense. It wasn't like a ball screen offense where I was having to create a whole lot. So it's definitely different than anything I've ever done before. But it's definitely been a growing process of like accepting the role and figuring out how to play it right.
When you hear Coach talk about the need to be more aggressive, how do you take that as a player, and how do you translate with what Coach wants?
I mean, obviously, the being aggressive is kind of a broad term. So asking him really what it is specifically he needs. When I come off a ball screen and they're playing drop coverage, closing the space with the big, making him have to play two. Other team switches, attacking the big and attacking the switch. So I mean, it's getting into the paint, forcing defensive collapses, getting the ball out to our shooters, and then if I get in, the defense doesn't collapse, being able to get in and score myself. So it's a lot of different things, and it's just having to make sure I make the right read, but while keeping a mindset of having to attack.
During this losing streak, what are teams doing to you? Are they doing anything? Is it more what they're doing you're not able to adjust to it, or is it more self-inflicted ones? What's your honest evaluation?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, a lot of times we'll scout a team and they've done a certain defense all year, and then we come into the game expecting one thing and they've completely changed it up for us because we run so many ball screens. So part of it is us needing to be able to adjust on the fly during that game. And the other is, I mean, we just have to make shots. I mean, if you look at our percentages, they've been really bad these last couple games, and we're really low in the league right now. So we have to, come in here, shoot game-ready shots, be ready to catch and make shots. And that's everybody. We got to, guys are driving in, we got to be down and ready to shoot, not standing there waiting for the ball to maybe come to us. So I would say it's a little bit of both.
One more thing on the point guard thing, Jacob. When that does work with you, obviously you could be a matchup nightmare for smaller guys. Does it click when it does work and you go, okay, now I know what he's talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've kind of had a point guard's kind of mentality when it comes to the game. I'm more of a pass first, get everybody the ball kind of guy. So like I see it and I understand it when it is clicking. And that's, like the ULM game, I felt like it was clicking a ton. I was getting to the paint, getting guys the ball. So, I mean, I got to find that rhythm again, make sure that, we're all kind of on the same page as to, when we're cutting, when we're spacing, all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, it clicks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Start with an opening statement from Coach.
Happy birthday to Keith. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Keith. We'll try to win one for you. Opening statement. We're offensively, we're not playing very well, so we're trying to tweak it a little bit here and see what we can do. It's it's hard when you run the kind of same offense for about 9 years, and it's always been pretty elite offense. So we're going to try to tweak it a little bit, see if we can't get the ball in certain people's hands at different times, and if it won't help us. Kind of the same, we're still wide open concept. We're still doing a lot of that stuff, but we're going to start it with a little different way, see if it works. Before y'all ask questions, I'll just give you some of the facts so that we see, and you can see we played James Madison. I think they're ranked third in field goal percentage in the country, I believe. I believe I'm right with that. That's what they're telling me, so I'm going to believe them. We held them to 38 and 21. Normal years, we'd have won that one by 20. We went, 29 and 23. And so our offense needs to work a little bit. Defensively, if you go to Kim Palm, our defensive points per possession, .895. We'd be undefeated unless we really had. So defensively, transition, we're not as good, 1.16. And that's basically because we turned the ball offensively and they're going down before we can set up. Overall, though, according to Ken Palm, our half-court defense is ranked very good. Offensively, below average. So we got to try to figure out, we're pretty good shooters, it seems to me. It looks like when we get out there, we're shooting the right shots. So it tells me a little bit about rhythm and just about a flow of the game that's causing it, because they shoot it well out here in practice. So we're going to tweak it a little bit, see if we can't get our offense a little bit better, and have a 4-game homestand. Win these 4, we're right back, up the top. Everybody's beating everybody up. Happy State is, 1 loss, but everybody else is within a game. So we'll see what happens.
Questions?
When you look at making some of those changes and becoming better offensively, how close is this team to making that turn and becoming more consistent on that side of the ball?
Well, we had it in our offense anyway. We called it delay, but we very seldom went to it. And it basically is just putting Nate up on top and letting him start all the things instead of starting from a pick-and-roll point guard position. We'll just let him stop. Now, the same things occur, but he's a little stronger with the ball. So he can do a dribble at. He can go pass over there and pick. He makes the decisions to start our offense instead of being pretty standard with the pick and roll, which, Andy was very good at, Tavion was very good at, John Elmore was very good at. This way, it gives Jacob a little bit more time to grow from something he's not real used to. But there will be times it's just going to start and run through Nate, and we'll see what happens.
On the subject of Jacob, he just talked about how guys like Ryan Taylor, guys like Corny have been really instrumental in helping him kind of learn how to become a point guard.
Mm-hmm.
How beneficial is it to have guys like that on staff to help?
Well, any good program starts at the very top, which is president of the university, and then goes through the AD, and then winds down through your assistant coaches and everything. Everybody's got to be on board. Everybody's got to be good at your job along with me. And then the players will benefit from it. So basketball is the ultimate team game, not only in playing but also in the coaching and the management of it. And if the emphasis and the enthusiasm and the energy isn't in any of those sectors, because I've seen it. I went through 7 principals, and the ones that were really bought in, we seemed to always do better. The ones that didn't buy in, okay. Went to the NBA, Coangelos, they were all in, backing all, and that's when Phoenix had those years. You go to New York and LA, and what happens? So, it's important that everything lines up. It's a tough gig trying to win an NCAA game and to keep a real consistent winning at the very top. That's hard. It might be in the way the game is played now with portal and everything. It might be a pipe dream thinking you can do that at this level. We'll see. I haven't seen too many. I mean, teams that were good one year will fall down to the middle next year, come back. It's very difficult because you don't have that program like the old baseball used to have, the farm leagues, where they came through the farm leagues. You weren't trading and swapping every time, you kind of developed your own talent. And so that kind of has changed out. And so there's a big advantage of people who have money. They have a big advantage, So it's going to be difficult to maintain a real high level in men's basketball because of that. But again, that's the way it is. So we got to try to figure it out and try to keep us competitive every year.
Yeah, I know you were frustrated on the first leg of the road trip. Is that something you could see when the game started, that they kind of went away from your style there, and then it kind of ballooned from there?
Well, we've always prided ourselves on ball movement, the athletic ball, quick pick and rolls, pace. Our pace has dropped down. We've always had teams that score 78 to 82 every year. Now we're in the 60s, and it's the pace, of the game, the pace that we're playing at, the ball. We've made, I talked to Mike about it, and he looked at it. He says, you're just not making the big plays when you have to, and you're making the bad plays when you better not. And so it's not an overall thing, but it is in spots. We haven't learned to put the hammer down when you got a chance, or if you're really trying to catch up, make those 2 or 3 plays, make the shot, or not turn it over, not miss a switch. It's not like epidemic, but it is spotty, and in the worst times, and where you can't do that. And if you playing the pace of game that we're playing in the 60s, every mistake is critical now. When you get it up to the 80s, you can make 2 or 3 and people forgot about them. But when you're playing down in the 60s, you've got now in a grind game, you cannot make mistakes. And I thought Thursday night we played more like ISO teams, and we're not an ISO team. Can't do that. Now, I thought we played well against James Madison, just didn't make shots. So there's a big difference. I can take a loss like James Madison. If you've known me for a long time, I'm not real good at accepting lack of just focus and concentration. I can take a missed shot. I can take mistakes doing the right thing. I have a real problem with people not, when it's clear what to do, and they decide to do something else. And that was kind of Thursday night. I thought we straightened it up well Saturday. Like I said, it was going to be up and down this year anyway, regardless. But we're 4-3. I think top team's 6-1 or 7? Yeah, 6-1. Then 5-2. And we're right there, and we got 4 games here. So we win those 4. We probably turn around. We'll probably be 1 game out, Appy State, or tied with them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
When you look at Georgia State, what do you see from them on film, and how great of a challenge do they present?
Well, same record as we had. They started out 4-1. I think they were right with us too, and lost a couple here lately. They're kind of hot and cold. They would go down to Georgia Southern and beat them by 23. Go back to Georgia State and get beat by 16. So I don't by Georgia Southern. So I don't know. I watch them. They're very typical of this conference. Good athletes. They're not huge. They don't have the huge center. They open the floor up basically and play a lot of individual. They run the pick and roll, but it basically always ends up boiling down to, I got to beat you, and we got to guard them. So, and that's one thing, our defense, what it does is it takes away any advantage you get from a pick and roll if we do it right. If we're doing it right, you can't run pick and rolls. If we do our defense right, you can't pick off the ball. In other words, you can't run your offense, spread it, and you got to beat us one-on-one. And we've done a pretty good job. Every now and then the mismatches will catch us, inside, and everybody will throw up their hands. But, when they ran the pick and roll and went down and we were chasing it and they threw a lob and the guy dunked it, nobody said, well, it's just bad defense. It wasn't a scheme. It was just bad defense. Well, no. It's better the way we're doing it right now. This is the best defensive team half-court we've had here, stat-wise. So that part's working offensively. We're going to have to tweak a little bit. We're going to try and see. But also a little bit of it's just Jacob growing into that position. And he's got to be aggressive. I told him that. He's got to be more aggressive. We've got to get and we got to hit key shots. I think, we had right there toward the end, we were trying to catch up. We get a wide-open 3, missed it. Had another wide-open 3, missed it. Had a layup, missed it. And you can't do those things. When they're wide open, you got to knock them down regularly, and it's got to be pretty good. But I think we're at 30% in the if you look at it, we're 13th in offensive field goal percentage. That tells you the story. So we're going to have to be better at that. If you do defensively, we're 6th total overall. But overall, the points per possessions is .843 against our half court, which is very good. So let's have to see. We got to make the right plays at the right time. We're not doing that right now. Is that it? Happy birthday there, Key.